This is my hydraulic actuated motorcycle lift table. When I built it, I had two major issues in mind. One, I didn't want to dedicate a jack to it. I wanted it so that the jack could slide out, because I use that little guy there quite a bit. And this big boy, which has a 31-inch lift, I only use occasionally. And the other criteria was it had to be able to stand in a corner out of the way when not in use, as I have a fairly small garage. I achieved this by simply adding some steel wheels on the bottom, as you can see right there. That way, when I'm not using it, I can just lift up one end, wheel it over to this corner and stand it up. This here is the little ramp that I use for wheeling the bike up onto it, because as you can see, with it totally collapsed, it's quite a distance. So with that little ramp, I can just wheel the thing up. And then that is how it's stored. So the two criteria, apart from obviously being safe, is it's got to be stored out of the way, so I've got the whole garage to use, and I didn't want to dedicate the jack permanently, so I didn't want to weld that in. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to set it up, put the camera on a tripod, and you can see how it works. So here it is in position, ready to be used. I just rolled in the jack at this end, and that's what jacks it up, obviously. I put safety loops at each corner, and using the red straps you saw earlier on, I can tie a bike down. So depending upon what I'm doing to the motorbike, it's not going to roll off. These are the little metal casters that allow me to lift up that end and just wheel it around and roll it up out of the way. I made a magnetically attached safety leg. It's just held up with a magnet, and it has two positive stops. One at 17 inches and one at 25. So with it in this position, I can work on the lower part of the bike or lower it down to work on the top part of the bike. Also, while I'm using it, I can roll the jack completely out of there. It's very easy just to slide it in to reach the cross member here that does all the lifting. I beefed up the supports because that area right there is what takes all the strain. These standoff legs prevent it from collapsing too close, because then the jack has a real tough time doing the initial lift. With it a bit higher, it manages to do it no problem. I have a 750 Kawasaki. I put that on it and it just lifted it up so easy. It's a good all-round use. This is 3/4 inch plywood. Most of it is box steel, as you can see. I've got 1 inch square, 1.5 inch. It's an assortment. Some angle iron down there. It was fairly easy to make. I did a lot of messing around, figuring out leverage and the height, where I should position this, how long these should be. That's a 3,000 pound capacity jack. So I figure out I've probably cut that capacity in half because of the extension here. So it's still got 1,500 pounds of lifting, which is more than adequate. And having the drop down leg, it's completely safe. I've got no worries with it collapsing. So to let it down, just jack it up a bit more. The magnet grabs that. And down it goes. And the jack is straight out. Very, very handy. Saves a lot of crawling around on your hands and knees when you're trying to work on a bike. So I know this is a brief video, but I didn't video the whole process of when I'm building it. Because in my usual manner, as I'm working, I realize there might be a better way, and I figure out this and then I figure out that as I'm going along building it. I sketched out the rough idea. And like I say, I spent a lot of time figuring out where to put the jack. The little ramp just goes there so that it's easy to wheel the bike up onto the table, and then the ramp just gets pushed out of the way when I'm not using it. So I'm quite pleased with this, especially the fact that I can store it in the corner of this small garage and still get a vehicle in. I did at one time many years ago have a bigger workshop, and I had a store-bought hydraulic motorcycle table, but that had to just be pushed to one side. You couldn't stand it up, but the shop was big enough that I didn't worry. When I moved to this place, everything has to be compact. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it gives you a little bit of inspiration. They're quite easy to build. Just use a bit of common sense. And that's it for now.